This video is the turtle shell bone drawing 4, and we're still at the point where we're making choices and decisions and not starting the actual work yet. This is a Musgrave pencil number 2, made in America. I'll put the link in the info section. And I had done my initial drawing of the turtle bone shell, and here is the drawing on tracing paper. Now I have to say, through like the 40 plus years, not every one of my drawings got a tracing. It would depend on how often, well, two things. Did I want to keep a pencil record of it, and did I think I was going to use it again as an illustration? It's not always done with fine art, but with illustration, it's often done. But now I'm finding, and this particular drawing is a good example of why, instead of redrawing the whole thing, I now have a tracing. And in order to transfer this to another sheet of paper, I've obviously traced it on one side, and I've talked about this before. I will now go over the lines on the other side, place it on the new paper, and go over it again on the front. And that will put the exact same image on another piece of paper. Now here's why I'm doing this. I originally was going to do this in graphite, and I still want to do a version in graphite. So this is Strathmore, I'm pretty sure it's Strathmore 400 drawing paper, because it has a different texture than Winsor & Newton watercolor paper. Either one, you can see the decals, either one of them is going to be an absorbent paper, but because I was planning graphite, there's no problem, and the texture actually works well with graphite. But now I've decided, as in my glass pen video, that I want to use this old ink, Pelican Drawing Ink A, and the color is actually sepia. And so what I need to do, and the reason a tracing comes in handy, is because I'm going to use Bristol board, which I have a piece right here. And you can see that Bristol has a much smoother, get some contrast there, surface. So, can I do pen and ink on this? Yes. With a crow quill? Yes. I'm going to use a glass pen, which has a slightly bigger nib than a crow quill, and it's not about the blobs, but it's about the thicker nib and the absorbent paper. So this will come out much like a marker if I use a glass pen on a watercolor or a soft drawing paper. Bristol has a harder surface, and I didn't bring the pen over here, but there's a pencil mark on that. And what it's doing is sitting on the top of the paper more than this. So you can see why I wanted that for the graphite. See how soft it is, and you're starting with grays and you build up layers? And this is obviously right up on the top of the paper because it's darker. Same pencil, two different papers. So because of the ink and the glass pen, I'm going to transfer this drawing to a sheet of Bristol and do it in ink on this paper, and probably at some point do it in pencil on this paper. I'm not sure which I'll do first. Now, because paper is expensive, what I recommend, if you buy one pad, save all your little pieces. Like, let's say you want to do a 5x7 and it gives you another 5x7 that you're not sure what to do with. Use it as a practice piece of paper to see how your effect is going to come out. That is I don't think it's the same paper, but it's similar. This is probably Winsor & Newton. This is paper out of a box of tea bags, which is extremely similar in surface to Bristol board. So look around the house. If you're not going to use a professional art paper, look around the house and see if any of the packaging you have has a similar paper where you can do any kind of a test with what you're going to be doing, because paper is expensive. Some of these pads only have 20 sheets and they're $15. Watercolor block can be $25 for 20 sheets. But it also teaches you, it's not always about the money, but if you're going to be an artist forever, then yes, it becomes about the money as one factor in things. But if you're going to be doing a certain style all the time, if you drink tea all the time, or maybe the coffee you buy has some kind of a coupon insert or something. I mean, it could be anything. Just find a similar surface to use as a practice so that you're not going through sheets of expensive paper, especially if you're starting out. Copy paper is wonderful, and you probably already have it for your printer. So, but the problem with copy paper is it's not going to imitate the surface because it's made for a printer. It's made for inkjet printing for the most part. So, especially when you get old inks, or like this is the Speedball. It's a C5 nib in the Speedball auto feed pen holder. That's a C5. This was the B4. So that's what I used it for. This was a ballpoint pen I couldn't get to write. This was another ballpoint pen I couldn't get to write. So, scribble. These are all scribbles. They don't mean anything, and they're, they get tossed out when the paper's all used up. But scribble all the time and get used to knowing. I could have started this one with a glass pen, and it's only after doing things like that, early in my years, that I changed to scribbling on these until I pick out the right paper for the tool that I'm using. So it's teaching yourself, on the surface it's teaching yourself the knowledge of paper, but on a deeper level, it's developing your sense of art, because if you always lean toward this type of paper, you may actually be better at graphite. If you always lean toward doodling on your tea box papers, you may lean toward ink. It's a way to follow a good path.